Good morning. How are you? Would you happen to have like 5 minutes for like a quick interview before you do your hike?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Are you okay if I record it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
So, let me tell you what I do.
Okay.
I'm Anthony, by the way.
I'm Kelsey.
How do you spell it?
K-E-L-S-E-Y.
K-E-L-S-E-Y. All right. I have these short 5-minute chats with people,
Okay.
typically before they do their hike or after, about a deeply held belief. And it could be anything.
Okay.
It typically goes like supernatural stuff, like God or karma, ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
I met a woman the other day where she said that she has the ability to tell when people are going to die.
Oh.
So, yeah. But it was an interesting conversation because I just asked questions.
Okay.
Why do you think it's true? How do you know? What's your best example? That type of thing. And sometimes, even by the end of like a short 5-minute talk, the confidence that you might have in the belief right now could be less. It could go up. It might stay the same. But sometimes it drops just to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Isn't that cool? I mean,
Yeah.
even after a short amount of time. So, and I have a timer here just to keep it 5.
Okay.
You want to give that a shot? And
Sure.
do it? Okay. Make
Yeah.
sure you're framed here. Really good. Okay. So, now with all that being said, is there a particular belief that you really think is true?
Well, I'm a diehard Christian, and so I think the only belief that is out there is Jesus Christ. So.
Okay. Have you ever taken a moment to think about why you actually think that's the case?
Yeah, I have, and I do believe in karma, and I do believe in ghosts too.
Okay.
But but there's been events in my life where it's just so supernatural that it had to have been Jesus Christ. It had to have been a higher power. So it's yeah.
Okay. You've had experiences in your life where you said, okay, that's Jesus, or that's karma, or that was actually a ghost. That is so neat.
Yeah. I got in an accident when I was young, and there was just no way I could have survived. And I kind of went through this epiphany during that time, and it was just when I woke up, because I passed out, and when I woke up, it was just, it definitely kind of kicked me in the butt a little bit that I kind of need to change my life around and live a life through Christ.
Okay. How long ago was the accident?
The accident was about 10, 11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. And then, so after the accident, it shook you up in some way, and then you
I changed my life after that.
It changed your life? Okay. How did you decide, Kelsey, to go to the Christian God after that incident and not Vishnu or
I was
Allah or something like that?
Yeah, well, I was going down. Well, my family, we've all been Christian. We go to church every Sunday, but I kind of blew it off. I never really paid attention to the gospel, and so I grew up in a Christian home. But I was living this life of drugs and drinking and sex, and so it just wasn't a very, that's not a Christ-like life that you should have. So when I had this accident and I thought I was going to die, I asked him to give me one more chance, and he did. I felt like he really spoke to me to give me another chance because I thought I was going to die. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's kind of when I changed my life around and figured that I need to live a Christ-like life.
It sounds like you're fairly confident that this is actually the case.
Yes.
0 to 100, if 100% is all confidence, no doubt. 0%, all doubt, no confidence at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything else. I don't think it's. I don't think that was karma. I don't think that was any other higher power. That was definitely God.
And the specific Christian God too.
Yeah, Christian.
Is that right?
Christian God.
Okay. Do other people? I mean, I don't know what kind of accident this was like, but
I can tell you the story.
Was it a car accident?
No, I fell through a roof.
What?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. It's a crazy accident. I fell through a roof. I fell 20 feet, hit concrete.
Oh.
There was just no way I should have been alive. And when I when I hit concrete, I passed out, and it felt like I was passed out for like hours, and I was just talking to him, and I was in this like trance, like I was in like, I felt really good, like it's really hard to explain. I felt like my fingers and like everything was just kind of coming apart. Like I felt just so good.
Yeah.
And so I knew, I was just like, oh my gosh, I could be dying right now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here. So I started talking to God. I said, give me one more chance to change my life around. And he said, okay. And then just like that, I woke up, but it was only like a split second.
Okay.
But it felt like I was in this trance for like hours.
I see. I have had a lot of talks with people that have experienced trauma. Maybe not as specifically as like falling through a roof and falling 20 feet and landing on concrete, but I have had people say that they were out of it, like they were injured and they were conversing with a God. And it wasn't the same one that you're telling me about. Like they'd be like I met this Indian lady on the trail who was saying something like she got in a car accident and was conversing with Vishnu, and she knew 100% that it was Vishnu. And when I asked her, well, why did you go to Vishnu and not some other guy? She was like, well, you know, I grew up that way. My family told me about Vishnu.
I'm sure if I would have grown up learning that, I would have thought it was that God too. But I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up learning that there was another God, another Christ. I grew up knowing this was the way, this was the life, and there's no other life outside Christ.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you had grown up in a completely different household to be raised Hindu and taught Vishnu was the one true God, then you had this accident.
I'm sure I would have felt differently at that point. But you know, I grew up being Christian, just how people grow up being atheists, and they teach their kids that there's no God, and I hope that at some point of their life they realize that there is a God.
But if people are attributing the existence of a God because they were taught it growing up, how does that actually make the belief really true?
That's a good question. And you know what? I've met people who did grow up Christian and who went to church every Sunday. Her parents drilled them that, you know, Christ is, you know, the only way to eternal life is Christ. And they end up growing up completely different. They end up believing that there is no Christ, there is no God, they are atheists. And so things change. I'm sure at one point in my life, if I really wanted to, I could have taken a different route. But every time I step away from Christ or a Christ-like life, then I just feel like total dog shit. Like I feel like my life is just like upside down. And so every time I go back to Him, it's like I feel like this warmth surrounding me. And so that's I like the way it feels. I like going to church. I like preaching about Him, and I don't think I'll ever venture out toward my little Christ-like circle.
Sure. We've hit our 5, but I have like maybe one more question.
No, that's fine. Yeah, take your
okay?
time. Yeah.
Okay. I really did enjoy talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay. My question, I guess my next question would be, is pointing to growing up with a belief and also pointing to the warm feelings that you might get from the belief the best way to know that it's actually true?
I mean, if it wouldn't be true, why are there millions of churches around the United States? Why are there, it's just hard to believe that it can't be true. You hear all these stories about like 7 minutes in heaven, or 30 minutes, whatever that book's called. And it's hard to believe that it can't be true, that there can't be everlasting life.
Are you saying that the more people that believe in something, the more likely it's going to be true?
No, but it's you know, just from, you know, reading the Bible, or just from because I went to Catholic school, so I mean, just like learning about Christ and learning about the Bible, it's how can it not be true? How can you not have when you feel so good being around people who are Christians and do live a Christ-like life? Like, how can you not believe that's true? Like, I truly believe there's everlasting life,
But do you have good reasons for it other than I was taught it as a kid and I had these traumatic experiences and...
Well, I mean, just going throughout life, just because, like, yeah, I was taught as a kid, but it was my choice to continue to be the person that I am. It was my
But did you make the choice, Kelsey, because you were raised that way?
Well, yeah, I would say mostly. It's kind of a difficult question. But it's because I think that, like, not believing would it, I don't know. That's a toughie. I just know. Like, I just from being raised and going to church and.
Is everything that you've been taught growing up proven to be true?
I would say so. Yeah.
Everything?
Like, what do you mean?
Like everything that your parents would teach you and what you've learned in school. You've grown up, you've experienced life somewhat, and when you look back on those childhood days of being in a church and being taught things, or whatever, even after the church, when your parents were driving you home and they made some comment, and did you ever later find out that, oh...
Is that very Christ-like?
No, not that, but have you ever been told that something was true as a kid, and then throughout your life experience discovered that it really wasn't?
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So how can you be so certain that this taught belief is actually true?
Because I just know. Like, I don't have to have proof. I don't have to tell you proof. I don't have to prove to anyone. You know, I just... You know, we had... are you a Christian?
No.
No. I figured.
Let me ask you that. Is it important for you to have good reasons to justify the beliefs that you hold?
You know, I'm not a very good, like, you know, I had a friend who was an atheist and he didn't believe in Christ, and it's always hard for me to tell people why, because he would ask me these same questions, and I couldn't really give him an answer, and I'm not really good at that, because it's, you know, I don't trump on anyone else's belief. Like, if that's what you believe in, that's fine. I don't look at that. I look at the person who you are. And so it's, you know, this is just what I believe in. And if you don't believe in the same thing I do, that's okay. You know, I'm not, but it's hard to be friends with someone and hard to hang out with someone when they don't really have, or they're not a Christian. And that's just because, like, for like all my friends, like, we go to
Why
church,
is that?
we go to Bible, because we have like a group, and so we go to church, we go to Bible study, and so when you find that niche, and that's something that you do in your normal day activities, then that, you know, it's kind of hard to bring in your friend who doesn't believe in Christ.
I gotcha. Are you saying that it's more difficult to be around a person that holds a belief in a completely different God?
No, it's
Or just atheists in general?
No, just, I mean, because I have other friends who believe in, like, a higher power. They don't think that it's God. They believe in a higher power. And, you know, and that's something that we don't bring up. It's something that we don't talk about, because we have different beliefs. But that doesn't mean like any less of a person.
I see.
Yeah.
So what I think you're saying is that you're okay with everyone believing whatever they want, as long as they're a good person. It doesn't really affect me all that much.
Right.
Okay.
And so a guy we had a guy come to our church, and he was he didn't believe in Christ. He was an atheist, and he had a whole family, and you would have never thought he was. Like, I mean, just the way he spoke. You know, he just looks at it as there's so much crap going on in this world. And he's like, why would, you know, how could there be a God for what? And I hear that so many times. But it's just, you can't look at that. You really have to start small. I mean, you can't look at the world and be like, why would God do this? It's because He gave us free will. You really have to look at your own life and not look at anyone else's, and look at what the world's doing.
I guess what I'm more interested in is how can a person who was raised with a belief and acknowledges that people that are raised with beliefs will tend to believe whatever they were taught.
That's a good question.
How can a person be 100% confident that their belief is actually true?
I don't know. I don't know that question, and because people have grown up Christian and left the church, and
Well, forget about them. How can you? How can you be 100% sure?
because I just know, like, Christ has just been, I was raised that way, and I've had the chance to venture out and study different. Can we get in the shade? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was going to suggest that, but I didn't know if you were comfortable there or not.
And so.
How about
right
here? Yeah, that's good.
No, reading the Bible and like, how could someone make all that up? How can someone make up all those?
Yet we have other holy books of different religions of those people that are 100% sure Vishnu exists.
So you don't believe Christ walked the earth? You don't believe that? You don't believe that so.
Well, that person that believes in Vishnu would probably, they might say like, oh yeah, Jesus was a god, but Vishnu was the main god or something, or like he didn't rise from the dead. That they would probably find something that would differ with your doctrine, but they'd be 100% sure that their God exists.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure. I can't prove it to you right this second, but when
Can you prove it to yourself?
yeah, I mean, when I go to heaven, that's my proof. Like, when I.
What about in this life?
So, what do you mean, like?
I mean, do you have an opportunity to examine and test the belief now before you? I mean, because if you die and it doesn't work that way.
It will. It'll work that way. You know it.
How do you know it?
Because I just do. I just from other experiences in my life that I don't want to go into, but how could there not be a God? Because I don't look at the dead and the gross stuff in the world. I look at the beauty of everything, every little thing, and like, if you look at it that way, and I don't know. I just know, and it scares me to know that if you don't accept Christ into your heart, you're not going to have everlasting life. And that's scary to me, because I care about your soul.
So I'm not saying that you're doing this, but I'm wondering if you are you subconsciously selecting things that support the belief that you want to be true? And then looking at that and saying, well, yeah, see, that thing happened, and that's what I believe, so therefore it's true. Like, how could we like scientifically test this belief that you have to see if it really is true?
What's the things that people bring science into it, and
well, maybe not even science, but is there some other way?
I don't know. I mean, I go to Bible study every Monday night, and it's kind of like it's like a refresher course. It's like,
why do you think the Bible's true?
Why
do you trust anything that's in it? I mean, the woman that believes in Vishnu would tell me that the Bhagavad Gita has the truth, and she goes there every week.
That's what she grew up in. That's what she believed in. I'm curious to see if she grew up in a Christian church and believe that there's only one God and one, I wonder if she would believe like what I believe.
That's an interesting thought challenge.
Yeah.
Do you think that if she was raised in a Christian church and exposed to the Bible, and if she was walking here on this trail and decided to talk to me, that she would be 100% sure it was true because she was taught it?
I think so, because when you're raised in a household, your friends are like that. Your relatives are like that, like your parents, and so you're surrounded, and you grew up that way. But I mean, you're surrounded with those kind of beliefs, and so if I grew up in a household, and of course she would have found out, but you would learn about all these different things, because when I went to
and I've met these people that tell me that they're 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, if I grew up in a house where I learned that way was correct, I'm sure I would be talking to you about that. But I would have. But I don't know, because like everyone dabbles in different. When I went to Catholic school, we learned about the different. Like, we just learned about them, so we're aware and we know.
But you were taught that you were being taught the true one.
This is the true way.
Yeah.
No. Are you? That's not right.
And I believe it, and it's just, and there's no way I could ever, I'm gonna see if this is the true way. Like, I can never do that.
What do you mean?
Like, I can't ever, like, what she believes in, that other girl.
Yeah.
I can't ever be like, oh, well, let me check that out. Let me see what that's all about.
Unless you were raised to believe
Yeah.
it.
But no, like, I think this is the one way. Did you grow up Christian?
Mm-hmm.
When did you realize that you did not believe in Christ?
I was at a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I was raised. Did you say Catholic?
I was
You were
raised
raised
Lutheran, but now I
Okay.
consider
There's a
myself
Lutheran church down the street from me when I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty young for me. Yeah, I'm really interested in how the method that people are using to be so confident that their beliefs are true, whether it's God or karma or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What I find is that almost a very large population will say, I know it's true because I was taught it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And they recognize, just like you did, that people are taught all sorts of different God beliefs. So I guess my next question to you might be, if that woman was here, and let's say that guy's a Muslim, for example, and he joins our conversation, all right? We've got a Muslim, a Hindu, and you're all 100% that your gods exist because you were raised that way and you were taught that way. How could an outside observer, a neutral observer looking at the three of you, figure out which of the three of you actually has the truth?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Like, if someone's neutral and they're trying to figure out which way to go,
Yeah.
I think it's. I really think it's them experiencing what makes them feel good. Like, if they're neutral and they think and they study each one, they're like, you know what, I'm gonna be a Muslim. I really like the way this looks. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not really good at I'm not really good at like telling people like this is why, here are the facts, this and this. So I'm probably not the best interviewee.
You're doing great.
But I'm just so passionate about it, and it makes me feel like Christ has done amazing things in my life, and that I feel like I couldn't have done without Him. And that's just me. That's just me praying and just opening up my heart.
But I guess what I'm getting, opening up your heart and getting warm feelings and feeling passionate about the belief. How on earth do you actually know that it's true?
I know, it's a great question. I think it's a $1 million question. I think you asked me that like a dozen times
And
already.
yeah, you said I don't know several times. So I guess what I'm getting at here is, if your response to these questions is I don't know, how could you possibly be 100% certain?
I just do. I just do. I truly like reading the Bible, and just experiences in my life and experiences in my husband's life, and in my family. There's no way that there can't be, that Jesus Christ is not life. Like reading the Bible, and like it's just like how can you just make that up? I mean, how can you just make up the #1 selling book? I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, can I give you a card?
Sure.
And it's got my email on it.
Okay.
And what I love it is when people will email me later and they say, Anthony, I was thinking about the talk, the whole walk.
Because I'm not really good on the spot, and this whole time I'm going to be walking and be like, oh, I should have said this. So you'll probably hear from me.
That would be very nice. And I try to come out here almost every day during the weekdays. This is the first time that I've come on a weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd love to meet with you again or talk with you about it.
Yeah, I'll probably email you.
That'd be cool.
So hopefully
And honestly, it would be better, like, please don't hit me up with, like, Bible verses. I'd really like to understand how you can be 100% sure when a lot of your responses were, I don't know.
Yeah,
What would be the more honest response?
definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe I can try to save your soul.
Hey, possibly.
Possibly.
If it's true.
If it's true. What do you believe in?
Got lots of beliefs.
Yeah.
Do you really want to hear my side of it, or okay? I think I believe that people are generally good to each other. And there's some bad apples, and that's a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely convinced that a person has to be good because they've read something in a book or they were raised to believe that something is true. Yeah, I'm sort of a position where I couldn't say that I know something for certain on pretty much anything, right? Like, I'm married, if I have a spouse, like, I'm fairly certain she loves me, but I don't absolutely know it. Like, I'm probably like a 99 on that.
Really?
98, yeah.
Do you have any kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does your wife believe in Christ?
I don't really like to get too much into their side of things,
Sure, I
if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
But that's kind of where I'm coming from. I would love to, like, if you have the truth, or the woman that believes in Vishnu has the truth, or the guy that believes in Allah, I absolutely would like to know that.
Oh.
I'd like to learn it. I'd like to see, like, why do they think it's true? But I need to have a good, it needs to be a good reason. But I do recognize that people are okay saying, yeah, I know it's true, I'm 100% sure because I was taught it, I had this traumatic experience, I was engaging with this deity when I was, when I had a head injury, and that just strengthened my belief, it gives me a good feeling.
You're not like hard facts.
I'm a hard fact kind of person.
No,
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm sure I would love to email you, because I meet with a group every Monday. I like to talk to them about what I spoke with about you.
That'd be a fun talk.
Yeah.
Do you go to a local church around here or something?
Yeah, I go to, we switch off between and yeah, so the reason why we switch off because we have some friends who go to both, and we like if one pastor is not preaching at that we like, we'll go to
Oh.
so.
Are you navigating to different churches because you're seeking out a message that you want to hear?
Yeah, so it's kind of, because we go to non-denominational, so what we do is sometimes we look at what the sermon's going to be, and then we're like, oh, this one looks good, let's go to. I know it's kind of funny, people are like, you go to 2 different churches, but yeah, so we kind of switch off a little bit, but we really like it's really big. This is
They're even expanding too,
it's
right?
really
Is that other section open yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So, but we are, we usually go to like the early service, like the 8:15, so it's not as crowded. But the message is really good. If you're ever interested in going, like if you're curious, if you see speak, I highly recommend listening.
It would have to, like, I would need to have a good reason to accept anything that I'm being taught, or if he's teaching from a book, I'd like to know, well, why do you think the book is true?
Because this guy, he's an atheist, and he actually paid churches for. He's like, okay, I wish you'd try to change me, so he would.
Do you remember his name?
I don't, but I wish I could.
Did he speak at?
Yes.
Like about 2 years ago?
Yes. Yeah.
I went to that, I think.
Okay, some people were getting up and leaving.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Was his name Hemant Mehta?
He was
The Friendly Atheist?
I think so, because he.
Like, I Sold My Soul on eBay, I think was the book. And
Yep. That's it. That's him.
I didn't notice people walking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the crowd. He ended up speaking at an atheist group later that evening.
Really. Yeah, but it was interesting. Like hearing him speak is interesting, but I'm going on my hike.
Yes, for sure. All right, well, thanks very much.
Yeah, it was very nice meeting you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you too, Anthony.
Yeah, maybe I'll email you.
Okay, I'd love that. Bye, Kelsey.